We are doing exactly what we agreed to do in the beginning, which was to have sex, a lot of sex. Shower sex, bedroom sex, floor sex, kitchen table sex. Jesus Christ, Tate, you are staring at his damn crotch. I didn't fall in love with you. I flew. We both laugh at our son's big balls. Don't ask about my past. And never expect a future.
This book might possibly be the most problematic book after it ends with us. And it might also be Colleen Hoover's most loved book, with over 2 million ratings and an average of 4 stars on Goodreads. A sadistic at odds with the onslaught of criticism it has garnered over the years. So, as a voracious reader, here's... Picture this. A young man by the name of Miles meets Rachel, the new girl at school, and falls in love. Little does he know, he just fell in love with his future stepsister. But more on that later. The book begins with our main character Tate's encounter with a drunk man sleeping next to her brother's apartment where she has come to stay for a while. The drunk man is...
Drumroll, please.
Our male lead character, Miles.
Are you serious?
So they did a plot analysis of the typical pornographic female fantasy. Vampire, that's a good one. Werewolf, billionaire, pirate, and surgeon.
And apparently drunk people who happen to be pilots. Both Tate and Miles end up finding each other sexually irresistible.
Oh, somebody get me a glass, because I just found me a tall drink of
Sorry,
water.
I mutter. I was thirsty. He turns to face me and leans his shoulder into the refrigerator, holding his arms over his chest. I don't care if you drink my juice, Tate. Oh wow, that was an oddly sexy sentence. Stop staring at his stomach. Oh my word, he has to be. Those beautiful indentations on men that run the length of their outer abdominal muscles, disappearing beneath their jeans as if the indentations are pointing to a secret bullseye. Jesus Christ, Tate, you're staring at his damn crotch. Eventually they kiss. He tightens his grip on my neck, and then he kills me. Or he kisses me, I can't tell which, since I'm pretty sure they would feel the same. What does that even mean?
And it was absolutely fascinating. What a buffoon she is.
Naturally, Miles immediately regrets it. Why? Because he's a brooding, hot as hell, handsome, beyond measure with six-pack abs, and did I mention handsome man with a dark past who's scared of commitment. It's not that I don't like you, Tate. I just don't want to like you. I don't want to like anyone. I don't want to date anyone. I don't want to love anyone. In order to remedy this issue, both come up with the revolutionary phenomenon of friends with benefits. The main tenement is, don't ask about my past and never expect a future. From yours truly, Miles. I absolutely don't like either of those rules. They both make me want to change my mind about this arrangement and turn and run away. But instead, I'm nodding. I'm nodding because I'll take what I can get. I'm not Tate when I'm near Miles. I'm liquid. And liquid doesn't know how to be firm or stand up for itself. Liquid flows. But why? Why is Miles so reluctant to have a relationship with Tate when she wants it so desperately? Let's go back 6 years earlier. Upon the death of his mother, a younger Miles' father falls in love with another woman who happens to be the mother of, guess what? Rachel, a new girl Miles has a crush on. Upon this new turn of events, when Miles and Rachel realize their parents are getting married, you would think that they begin to treat each other like siblings and leave this little inconvenience back in the past, right? Right? Wrong.
Where, Dwight?
Seems like you already know where.
Eventually, Rachel gets pregnant and gives birth to their child, Clayton. He's only 2 years old when he dies in a car accident, with Rachel and Miles left alive as collateral damage. Rachel blames Miles for saving her and not her baby, and just like that, their relationship is over. Miles vows to never fall in love again. Now, do you feel sympathy for Miles? Does this excuse his horrible behavior towards Tate? Of course not. And yet, the book proposes the idea that Miles' virile behavior is excused by virtue of the tragedy that he has gone through, and that it is fair or excusable if he uses another girl as a bandage to heal his trauma. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is Tate's behavior, who is basically surviving on the breadcrumbs of attention that Miles selectively throws at her. In her words, she becomes liquid to his demands, so powerless over her desire for him that she forgets self-respect and proprietorship. I let him use me to get rid of his pain. You can see clearly the cheap ploy used by Colleen Hoover to raise the stakes. The fact that Miles and Rachel are siblings, although not blood siblings, makes the story more suspenseful. I'm reminded of City of Bones that degrades to a similar ploy to raise the stakes. As you read the book, you root for the two central protagonists to get together, Jace and Claire, until it is revealed by the end of the book that they are siblings. That makes the following book suspenseful as both characters grapple with their attraction for each other, knowing that they cannot be together, although that doesn't stop either of them from making out multiple times whilst fully believing that they're both siblings, until it is revealed that they in fact are not siblings and are completely unrelated. This makes you wonder, why did the writer Cassandra Clare have to introduce a conflict of them being siblings into the plot? And the answer is simply this. She needed a plot twist. She needed to hook her readers by the end of City of Bones and keep them on their toes for the following books. And the only conceivable way she could think of was for Jace and Claire to be siblings. That is, frankly speaking, creatively redundant and lazy. The fact that Cassandra Clare couldn't think of any other way to create tension speaks to an uninspired close-mindedness. The same goes for Colleen Hoover. There was no conceivable reason why bringing incest into the picture was necessary, and yet both Colleen Hoover and Cassandra Clare did exactly that to raise the stakes. My point is simply this. In order to bring a vulgar theme like incest into your book, it has to be vital and necessary to the plot, and using it for shock value to make things interesting is cheap, lazy, and uncreative. And there are much more interesting ways to bring the theme of forbidden love into your book without having to make them siblings. Take the most obvious example of Romeo and Juliet. Romeo belongs to the family Montague and Juliet belongs to Capulet, which are at rivalry with each other, making their union impossible. Or take Wuthering Heights, wherein Heathcliff and Catherine, both characters in love with each other, cannot unite in marriage since Heathcliff is poor and an orphan. Resultantly, Catherine chooses to marry Edgar, a man belonging to a wealthier family. But perhaps the most creative example of forbidden love, or more so star-crossed lovers, is Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark from The Hunger Games. The book is set in a dystopian world wherein two people are chosen from a district and brought together in an arena to fight to the death for the entertainment of the rich. Peeta and Katniss are chosen from the same district. They're supposed to kill each other but instead love each other. In The Fault in Our Stars, Hazel is a 16-year-old girl with cancer in love with Augustus Waters. In the book 5 Feet Apart, Stella and Will both have cystic fibrosis and thus must stay 5 feet away from each other if they want to stay alive. In Everything Everything, Mari is an 18-year-old girl who cannot leave her house because of her illness and must stay in a hermetically sealed environment in love with a boy living next door to her. In Atonement, Robbie Turner is accused of the R word by a little girl, Bryony, and separated from Cecilia and sent to the army. And from my favorite book of all time, The God of Small Things, a love story between a divorced mother of two twins and a man she cannot touch. Voluta seen from the perspective of the two twins, Rahel and Estha. And this reverie is about to take a sharp U-turn, so spoilers for the book ahead. This book too contains themes of incest, but unlike in the case of Ugly Love and City of Bones, its mention is justified and relevant to the central theme and philosophy of the movie. Amu is a touchable divorcee with two twins, Rahel and Essa, who has escaped the clutches of her abusive husband, who had tried to force her to have intercourse with his boss for a promotion. She lives in Aymanam with her parents, slowly dreading the oncoming avalanche of the irrelevance of old age. For herself, she knew that there was no more chances. There was only Aymanam now, a front veranda and a back veranda, a hot river and a pickle factory, and in the background the constant high whining mule of local disapproval. Occasionally, when Ammu listened to songs that she loved on the radio, something stirred inside her. On days like this, there was something restless and untamed about her, as though she had temporarily set aside the morality of motherhood and divorcehood. Even her walk changed from a safe mother walk to another wilder sort of walk. What was it that gave Ammu this unsafe edge, this air of unpredictability? It was what she had battling inside her, an unmixable mix, the infinite tenderness of motherhood and the reckless rage of a suicide bomber. Ammu looks across and catches Voluta's gaze. The man standing in the shade of the rubber trees with coins of sunshine dancing on his body, holding her daughter in his arms, glanced up and caught Ammu's gaze. Centuries telescoped into one evanescent moment. History was wrong-footed, caught off guard, slouched off like an old snakeskin. Its marks, its scars, its wounds from old wars and the walking backward days, all fell away. In his absence it left an aura, a palpable shimmering that was as plain to see as the water in a river or the sun in the sky. He saw that Rahil's mother was a woman, that she had deep dimples when she smiled, and that they stayed on long after her smile left her eyes. He saw that her brown arms were round and perfect, that her shoulders shone, but her eyes were somewhere else. Much to their horror, Voluta's father sees them together. He saw what his untouchable son had touched, more than touched, entered, loved. He asked God's forgiveness for having spawned a monster. He ordered to kill his son with his own bare hands, to destroy what he had created. Voluta swims across the river to take refuge in the history house. But what he doesn't know is that the history house is the last place to take refuge in. It is in the history house that the British colonized the subcontinent, the history house where the War of Independence was fought and lost by the Muslims and Hindus, the history house where the subcontinent was mutilated apart into 3 different countries, Pakistan, India and Bangladesh, causing the collateral death of millions of Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs. The history house, with cool stone doors and dim walls and billowing ship-shaped shadows. But we can't go in, Chaco explained, because we've been locked out. And when we look in through the windows, all we see are shadows. And when we try and listen, all we hear is a whispering. And we cannot understand the whispering because our minds have been invaded by a war that we have won and lost, the very worst sort of war. A war that captures dreams and redreams them. A war that has made us adore our conquerors and despise ourselves. It was in the history house that the love laws were made. The laws that decided who was touchable or not. The laws that determined who should be loved and how much. It was in the history house that Paravans roamed, walking backwards with a broom, sweeping away their footprints so as not to defile the earth with their untouchable feet, covering their mouth with their hands to divert their polluted breaths away from those they addressed. It is in the history house that Voluta seeks to take refuge in after touching what he shouldn't have touched. And it is in the history house that he is beaten to death in front of Rahil and Esther. They watched, mesmerized by something that they sensed but didn't understand. The absence of caprice in what the policeman did. The abyss where anger should have been. The sober, steady brutality. The economy of it all. They were opening a bottle or shutting a tap. Cracking an egg to make an omelette. In the back veranda of the history house, as the man they loved was smashed and broken. Esther and Rahil learned 2 new lessons. Lesson number 1, Blood barely shows on a black man. And lesson number 2, it smells though, sick sweet, like old roses on a breeze. Afterwards, Essa is coaxed into admitting that he and Rahel were actually kidnapped by Vulutha to the police. The memory of a swollen face and a smashed upside-down smile, of a spreading pool of clear liquid with a bare bulb rejected in it, of a bloodshot eye that had opened, wandered, and then fixed its gaze on him, Esta. And what had Esta done? He had looked into that beloved face and said yes. Yes, it was him. Thereafter, Esta never speaks again. Rahel is wrung hollow and empty. At the end of the book, the twins have intercourse. But unlike in the case of Ugly Love and City of Bones, it is actually relevant to the theme and philosophy of the book, forbidden love. In having intercourse, Esta and Rahel rebel against the consequence that Ammu and Vulutha had to bear in loving each other. And Ammu, the lover who survived her lover, she goes to the police to testify for Vulutha, but to no avail. It's a little too late for all this, don't you think? He said. He stared at Ammu's breasts as he spoke. Inspector Thomas Matthew came around his desk and approached Ammu with his baton. If I were you, he said, I'd go home quietly. Then he tapped her breast with his baton, gently, tap, tap, as though he was choosing mangoes from a basket, pointing out the ones that he wanted packed and delivered. Behind him, a red and blue board said politeness, obedience, loyalty, intelligence, courtesy, efficiency. He's dead, Ammu whispered. I've killed him. Ammu lives in a hotel room for the rest of her life while suffering from a lung disease. Each breath she took was like a war won against the steely fist that was trying to squeeze the air from her lungs. Each time she inhaled, the hollow near her collarbones grew steep and filled with shadows. Ammu coughed up a wad of phlegm into her handkerchief and showed it to Rahel. You must always check it, she whispered hoarsely. When it's white, it means it isn't ripe. When it's yellow and has a rotten smell, it's ripe and ready to be coughed out. Phlegm is like fruit. Ripe or raw, you have to be able to tell. The sweeper found her in the morning. He switched on the fan. She had a deep blue sac under one eye that was bloated like a bubble, as though her eye had tried to do what her lungs couldn't. Sometime close to midnight, the faraway man who lived in her chest had stopped shouting.